Hey, welcome back to Women in Sales Leadership. I'm so glad you're here. If you're new to the show, I'm your host, Amy Evans. I coach founders and sales leaders on how to make big moves forward. And I've spent the past 25 years in the trenches at some of the biggest companies that do that, at Salesforce and ADP before I made the leap into coaching and advising some of the most ambitious leaders and founders in B2B tech. This show is built for you, for high-performing women who are ready to step into bigger roles, earn more, and have a real impact. Before we dive in, I just want to say, if this episode resonates with you, please be generous and share it with a woman in your network who needs to hear it. Go ahead and just forward it, text it to them. It's one of the most powerful things that you can do. And as a gift to you, as a listener of this show, I offer a free career planning call. You can grab it at any time at my website, amyevanscoaching.com/work with me. I'd love to sit down and connect with you one-on-one. Today's guest, I'm so fired up. I've been looking forward to this conversation since I met her. She is a founder. She's a CEO, an author, a podcast host, an investor. And she's one of the most authentic voices who is speaking for and speaking up and about women in leadership. Her name is Leslie Vickrey, and she is the founder and CEO of ClearEdge, a marketing powerhouse that is serving the staffing, talent, and HR tech space. She also, as if it wasn't enough to already be CEO, she co-founded another organization, ARA, an organization that has impacted over 6,000 people, dedicated to attracting, retaining, and advancing women in technology. She's the co-author of Together We Rise and Rising with Courage, a Women's Guide to Life and Leadership. She's been named one of the Enterprising Women of the Year, inducted into the UIC Entrepreneurship Hall of Fame, and she's been recognized as a top 50 DEI influencer. She hosts not one, but two podcasts, I believe. And stay with us all the way to the end because Leslie's got great stuff to share. And I know she's got a message today that you especially are going to want to hear. If all that isn't impressive enough, she lives in beautiful Breckenridge, Colorado with her husband and her son. Leslie, I'm so glad to have you here on Women in Sales Leadership. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you, Amy, for having me. And it's fun to hear these introductions and reflect back on some of these incredible things that we do for ourselves over the years. We don't always take the time to do that. So thank you.
No, we don't. We don't. It's probably fun to listen to all that stuff. Wow, I did that, right? You did all those things.
Yeah.
So let's go back to the beginning. Let's talk about where things began. You packed your car at 21 years old, and you said you had $300 in traveler's checks.
That doesn't date me at all. It's amazing.
Right? And
yes.
I mean, yeah, I think they're probably still used today.
They might. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. But you drove across the country for this broadcasting job that didn't work out.
Yeah.
What did that experience teach you about betting on yourself, and how does that still show up in how you run your business today?
Yeah, thank you. Again, it is really fun to reflect on the past, to understand where we've come along in our journey, and preparing for the podcast today and remembering and going back to that moment. I think I mentioned to you pulling out of my driveway in Saginaw, Michigan, and my Pontiac T1000, which, if anyone knows what that is, it's like a Chevette. I'll just say it's not meant for the Colorado roads, but I was very naive. But one thing I did know always, Amy, was that I wanted to live in Colorado. And when I was a young girl in middle school, my mom had taken myself and my best friend, Christina, on a trip to Colorado. And whatever reason, I'm not sure exactly, but it was one place that I actually felt home. And I can't explain it other than something to say, like, obviously I live here now full time, but it's taken me 3 times to move here, to stay here and find my way to the mountains. So there's something about it that I just love. So I always felt it. And knew that I wanted to be here. That said, when I graduated college, most of my family did not understand why. No one had really left from our family and moved somewhere else, and
Mm.
they didn't understand. So I remember my dad, we were sitting in our backyard, and he said to me, "Why would you ever wanna leave Saginaw, Michigan?" And I was thinking, "Why would I want to stay?" So, again, most people didn't leave, but the truth is, I didn't have it all perfectly mapped out, Amy, and this is kind of a theme that, again, reflecting on the past to learn, from where you've come from, I didn't have a plan, and in hindsight, I can understand completely why everyone was nervous and hesitant for me to go. It probably looked impulsive and unrealistic, but for me, it felt right. So, this was the beginning where I felt like I needed to trust in my gut, even though I couldn't fully defend the reason yet. So, I had left, I packed up what I had, headed to Colorado, and I quite frankly bet on myself. So, I knew that betting on myself at that point was really important to me, and I believed in myself that something would be fine. It would all work out. The and it did in its own way, but as you mentioned, I was headed there for broadcasting. After I moved there, I ended up landing a broadcasting gig in Vail. I didn't have any of that when I was first going, so I went, and on my way up to Vail, my car had broken down. And
No.
that's when I realized, like, oh goodness, I don't have any money. I don't have a job. I can't get up to where I was supposed to be. And yet I had to really find a way to make it work. And I think coming out of that, I believe what I found was I always chose courage before confidence. And that shows up for me time and time again. So when you ask, how does it show up for me today? When I started ClearEdge, which actually it'll be 20 years in June of starting the company. When I started ClearEdge, I did not have a business plan. You host a podcast on selling. I had never sold before. I was an in-house marketer. And I did not know, I didn't know how to do contracts. I had never created a budget. I didn't know QuickBooks. I didn't know so many things. But what I did know was that I was the best at marketing. I loved marketing. I was really passionate about it. And I knew that I could bet on myself for that. Even without a polished master plan or business plan, I could still do that. I had conviction and I had faith in myself. And once again, just like I did out of college, I leaned more into courage instead of fear. And I think that's a theme that has started to resonate for me over all of these years.
Mm. So you built this company from the ground up. You said without a business plan and no outside funding, I believe,
Yep.
right?
No outside funding. No.
Mhm.
No.
What surprised you most in building all that and like 20 years? Amazing. Congratulations, by the
Thank
way.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not a lot of businesses can say that they've been around for 20 years as a going concern. What surprised you most about what it takes to lead a company that might be unique to being a woman leading
Mhm.
a company?
Yeah. It's a great question, and I think what surprised me most, one, people have asked me the question, "Did you always know you wanted to be an entrepreneur?" And my answer was no. I always knew I wanted to be a journalist or a writer. Then that turned into event planner, PR, marketing, all of these things, but it never dawned on me to start my own company. What I did realize in reflection is that my family, my grandmother and her sisters had started multiple children's clothing stores in Detroit. And I grew up in a family of entrepreneurs. So for me, and female entrepreneurs at best. So I got to see it
Wow.
in action at a time, in the 70s in Detroit, 70s, 80s, when that wasn't super common for women to actually, they probably started it in the 60s, come to think of it, because it was way before I was born. So I grew up in a family of strong entrepreneurs, and I knew if I leaned into things that I saw with them, which is you've got to be okay asking for help. And it's okay not to know everything and, lean into those people to help you. And with the conviction that I had, I was able to get people to come work with me. And keep in mind, it was during a time when virtual work environments were definitely not a thing. And outsourcing marketing was not a thing. People were just starting to outsource technology, let alone kind of back office functions like marketing that they would, invest in. So I was kind of trying to overcome a lot of things, virtual work environment, recruiting people to come work for me, contract when no one was really used to working contract in marketing. So all of these things. But I, again, was betting on myself. And what I found was people were also betting on me. And I think about running a company as a woman, and oftentimes people talk about strategy, vision, execution, scale. All of those things are really important. But for me, I was doing more than building a company. I didn't realize it at the time, but I was really building this experience. And I'll share more about that. But listen, I had plenty of moments of imposter syndrome, and I talk about this a lot in the chapter of Together We Rise. Plenty of moments where I think about, did I belong in this room? Was I experienced enough, polished enough, strategic enough? Was I ready? And I think a lot about women, and I believe that a lot of us know that feeling. We can be incredibly capable, but still question ourselves, all the time. So what I've learned is that we have to stop asking as women for permission. And I, even up until a couple of years ago, I struggled with assuming everyone else knows better and needing
Mm.
to, gosh, if I don't have that experience, do I need to hire someone else who has that experience because they must know better? No, that's not necessarily the case. You have to trust your instincts. You have to use your voice and understand, as well as being a woman, that being thoughtful and empathetic does not make you less powerful in any way. I quite frankly believe it makes you a better leader. And I think women carry a unique tension in leadership. So we're always, I think, often holding a couple of things in our hands. One is ambition, and the other is humanity. So I care so deeply. And I've had people share this with me too as a woman. And I'll just use a female experience as being a leader and to kind of get your thoughts on this. But
Mm.
I cry during our all hands meetings. I tear up. I get super emotional. And it's because I'm passionate and I really care about our teams and the communities. So I have hosted all hands meetings after George Floyd's murder, for example, after school shootings, when things are happening that are impacting my friends and the communities that we love and we service. And I'll get on those calls and I'll have this open discussion. And listen, I've hired coaches, I've prepped, I've got my talking points, I have everything down. And I'm still on these calls tearing up. And I remember being told, do not cry.
Mm.
Don't cry. As a woman leader, it's the worst thing you can do. And what my team has told me is it actually was the best thing you could have done because it showed that you were human and you were just like us because they were feeling it. I was feeling it, and there was no way I could hold that back. So I think it doesn't make us weak. For me, if I feel like it makes us more whole.
Oh my gosh. Okay. That's beautiful. And brave. Um, the thing that comes to mind for me in hearing that, and I think one of the many reasons, like I spent most of my career in corporate America, 25 years of it. And one of the things that you got to miss, Leslie, in building your own company was this. It's almost like it's and this is gonna sound very graphic, but it's like the emotion is beaten out of you.
Yeah.
Like, your ability to be a human is not acceptable. It's becoming more so, but that moment, when you are just able to show your humanity and
Yeah.
your empathy with what's really going on, I d I don't see how that could ever be a downside, and I myself experienced this. When I shifted and stopped trying to hide or pretend or not ever show my emotions and made that adjustment, it made it my team reacted to that
Mm.
in a really positive way. Yeah.
Yeah. I
I
mean, they
think
can be
those
themselves with you.
consultants.
Yeah.
Oh, please go ahead.
No, I was gonna say you innately people talk about creating safe places to be yourself, but you innately by you being that way with your team and you showing your human side, we shouldn't have to be someone different at home. Or I had someone earlier today on a podcast recording talk about hiding being a mom. Can you
Yes.
imagine hiding being a mom?
I did it.
I
I
mean,
don't have to
it's
imagine
not
it. I
right.
did it.
Yeah, I know. I mean, and when I left corporate, one of the reasons I left was because I wanted to create something different than what I had in corporate. I didn't have Grayson until, I was 43 when I had him, so it was much later in life, for me than when I was growing up in corporate, but I saw what people went through. I experienced it through them, and I saw women trying to be hard and act different or be like a man and not talk about those things, and I knew I didn't want that for myself or
Yes.
anyone on the team. I'm sorry that that happened to you too.
Some of it was a choice too, right? Like I have to accept responsibility for the choices that I made, but a lot of it was what felt like was okay.
Right.
And the environment I was in, and I'm really optimistic this is shifting a little. I hope. I really do hope. But the environment back then was just different.
Right.
It was, a woman. It was me with a bunch of dudes.
Right. Yeah.
A and they were great human beings, but they had a stay-at-home spouse
Mhm.
who was taking care of life for them, and I was so anyway, that
Yeah. I
that
know.
that has all I think that's adjusted, but there was a point where I felt like I kinda had to hide my mom side of me, which are feminine and energy and is power in and of itself. You talked about, um, imposter syndrome, which everybody has. I don't know a leader who hasn't experienced that. I don't care what level you're at. And you wrote specifically, you named this voice that we all have. And I have this voice too. Like, this voice doesn't go away. You call it the evil DJ.
Mhm.
So, talk about what that is to you in your words, and how can you decrease the volume
Yeah.
on that?
Turn it down, sometimes turn it off, but yes,
Yes.
increase the volume so you don't hear it as much, and I wish I could take credit for the name. I read about it years ago. Actually, my sister Vicki had shared with me a Sheryl Sandberg at the time when her book had first come out, one of the circles and talks that someone she had enlisted, and they called it the evil DJ, and for me, it means that negative voice in your head that keeps playing the same fear-based track on repeat, that same song over and over. It could be, "You're not ready. You're not enough. Don't say that. You're in meetings. Don't say that. Why would you
Yeah.
say that? People don't wanna hear from you. Who do you think you are? You don't belong there. Why are you up on stage?" All of those things, and for me, I have to say, Amy, what was really important was to understand where it was coming from first and foremost, and
Yeah.
I did a talk once to a group in Chicago, called Icy Stars. They do for inner city young adults, they do immersive technology training, and I remember mentoring someone, and she was talking to me about something, and it was her evil DJ kind of coming forward. And I had, in that moment, had this epiphany, even talking to her, thinking, this is so deeply rooted. It is so deeply rooted. But do you know why or where that came from? And had this amazing, like, life-changing conversation with her. And for me, I was teased a lot growing up. So
Yeah.
I developed earlier than most girls. I had a full-on mustache around the 3rd grade. I am Lebanese and Italian, and I got compared to, so I say that I was a little hairier than most kids, especially girls, but I got compared to, if you remember The Karate Kid, my nickname
Yes.
was The Karate Kid, Ralph Macchio. So
Yes.
and literally when I look at old pictures of me, I look like his long lost little brother. Um, and, things like that, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not all of these things. And what I realized was those words really hurt. And they got in my head, and that's when the evil DJ started. The teasing started at a young age. I even had family members, who had nicknamed me Lazy Leslie, and those who know me know I'm the furthest thing from lazy. However, some kids react well to coaches who are hard on them and they need that discipline, and some react better to those who are very caring and empathetic and can help them. I'm better with that than I am the
Uh,
hard side, apparently, because growing up, they loved me dearly, but the love was pushed on us in a way that was meant to push you to work harder, because growing up in the Midwest, that hard Midwestern work ethic and grit and so forth. And again, I've thought through, like, what my family went through before, even I was born. So I understand where it came from, but it's still hurt. And for me, I was taught at a young age when that would happen to protect myself and put a wall up, and that's really when my evil DJ was born. Um,
uh,
I got really good at filling in the blanks before anyone else could, and I also did a really nice job of allowing other people's imposter syndrome to fuel mine. So if I would get things like, "Oh, you have the title of a CEO. You don't really look like a CEO, but I get it. Once you start talking and I hear you talk business, I can see why you're a CEO." And it's just amazing to me the things people would say, and I would allow their negative voices into my head to turn that evil DJ on, and I've had to really work hard at letting go of that little Leslie, I call her, and
uh,
saying, "She's safe, she's protected. You don't need to protect her anymore. You don't need to put that wall up anymore. You need to silence that evil DJ." I just had it a couple weeks ago. We had a hockey tournament. I started playing hockey at the age of 50, Amy, and
what?
there's a women's league here in Breckenridge. Yeah, so
Love
a
it.
few
So
years in.
cool.
And so again, I didn't have a plan or whatever, just showed up, no equipment, no nothing. And I don't let fear get in the way of doing things like that. But I ended up becoming co-captain of this team, and we won our version of the cup in a tournament a couple of weeks ago. And we're all on the ice. Our team, we're throwing off gloves, helmets, sticks going down. We're getting in the middle to get a picture. And my co-captain comes up to hand me the cup. So we would sit next to each other and hold it together. And I was like, "Oh, no, no. Why would I do that? I'm not. No, you're the best player. Like, I'm not a good player." And da 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 da. And she kind of looked at me really funny. And I had to go through in my head and say, "You are the co captain. You did contribute to this team. Every week, you showed up, you played hard, you helped get to this place, and you managed the different people being out and all these things. You deserve to be there. You are the co-captain." So
Um,
for me, it doesn't go away, but I do learn how to very quickly silence it
yeah.
and make sure that I, again, don't let it take over and put that wall up like I did as a child and an adult, young adult. I have learned how to silence it. It doesn't mean that it's not going to come up every once in a while. And that's okay. It keeps me on my toes. So,
Well, I think we wouldn't be human if it didn't
yeah,
still happen. I
right.
what I've noticed is just the awareness that voice is there and to like see it when it's happening. And the question I'm usually asking is like, is this true?
Right. Is it
Is
fact
this
or fiction?
actually true? Are there
Yes,
facts to back up whatever this
exactly. Fact or fiction.
voice is telling me? And often that can work for me. Um, and I don't know anybody who doesn't still struggle with that. And wow, on hockey, and congratulations
Thank you.
on winning the cup.
I love it. It's been so fun and a great
So
way to meet
brave.
new people in a new city, so
She's like, mahjong? No. Pickleball? No. I choose hockey.
yeah. I grew up in a hockey family. No women we didn't play because we didn't have it, but I saw it all the time and really wanted to do it, so
Mm,
yeah.
yeah, I love that. All right. So I want to shift us to, we were talking about it already, but going in a slightly different direction with it is using your voice.
Mm.
You wrote about this moment when someone used their voice on your behalf.
Mhm. Robin Me, yes.
Yeah.
She is one of the co-authors in Together We Rise. Mhm.
And you said that it changed how you show up for others from that point forward. Can you share that story?
Yeah, I would love to. It's, when I first started ClearEdge, and again, it's been around for about 20 years, here. But when I first started, I went to a conference, and at that conference, we were sponsoring. It was the first event that we were sponsoring, and I was so in my head with the evil DJ, Amy, I can't even begin to tell you. And I had to get so much confidence. So, when you show up to a conference and there's the name badges. So it started right then and there. I'm looking for the name badge. I'm like, okay, this is the welcome reception. You've got this. And I looked around and I noticed a group of people, and Robin was one of them. There were probably 10 people in a circle talking. And she, I knew her, I knew of her. I didn't know her well, but I knew her well enough to know that I could go to that group and feel comfortable. So I
Yeah.
went, and she, brought me into the circle. Everyone's talking. Well, after the opening reception of this conference, there was going to be a pool party and like an after party. And one of the CEOs there, a male CEO who, now I'm questioning myself, should I be here? And I'm
Mhm.
starting this new company. So, I'm selling. I have to go and sell
Yeah.
to win business and all of these things. I'm new at this. And I got the courage, sponsored, show up. I'm there. And the first thing he said to me was, "Hey, Leslie, am I going to see you in your bikini at the pool party?" And I didn't know what to say.
Mm.
Had no idea what to say, but Robin did, and she spoke up for me, and she said something, and Amy, I'm sure you've had these moments, I still have them. Those, I wish I would've, if I would've just said this, or why didn't I think of
Yes.
this? But then the evil DJ gets worse. Then you're like, I'm just not smart enough. I guess I can't come up with things that are quippy comments and come back at things. Well, in that moment and reflecting on it, I was so grateful to Robin for this life lesson because she saw something and said something. So if you see it, say it. A
Mm.
say it moment. And
Mm.
for me, I felt like I can't have another moment like that where even if it's after the fact, I need to be okay if it's after the fact, but I have to see something and say something, especially in support of other people. And another quick story, when I was pregnant, we weren't expecting that we could have kids. We didn't think we could have kids. So when I found out I was pregnant, I of course went through you know, I've got all of these trips planned. I've got this, I've got that, all of
This
these
is
things.
interfering with my life.
I was like, "Oh my god." I like so excited, but also nervous because we weren't
Yeah.
expecting it. It was just unexpected. It's the best gift that I've
Mm.
ever been given in my life
Yeah.
is being a mother. And I was going to meet a mentor for coffee and share the news with him. And he said to me, I tell him I'm expecting, and he said, "Well, what are you going to do with your company? Are you going to close it? Like what's happening?" And I'm thinking to myself in that moment, which you start to learn how to think really fast.
Uh,
I grew up in a family of female entrepreneurs. I already told you that. So,
yeah.
I was raised by strong women. My my mom and dad got divorced when I was around 6 months old. So, at a time when most people were definitely not getting divorces too. And she went on and put herself back through school and became CEO of multiple credit unions in Michigan. I was raised by really strong working women. So,
Wow.
I could have gotten really angry. I could have cried. I could have said nothing. But instead, I looked at him in the moment on the fly and I said, you own your own business too, and you have a daughter. Maybe you could help me. What could I learn from you? Would you help me through this? And I could see it on his face. It was one of those learning moments where I didn't have to say anything about, like, "How dare you say that? What do you think you're
Right.
a woman? I'm gonna close my" I didn't need to say those things, he knew it. It was a lesson he learned, and in that moment, I was so proud of myself for using my voice in a way that, it all came together in that moment, and I do truly believe that a lot of times people say things, and they don't mean what they're saying, it's for it to come across that way. And there are gentle learning moments for us. And that's what I love about see it, say it moments where, you can say, I know you don't mean to make me feel this way, or I know you didn't mean whatever. You probably didn't mean, maybe they did mean it, but you're giving them the benefit of the doubt. And, just share this is how that makes me feel when you say something like that and being confident to say that. And if it's not on your behalf, when you see someone else in that situation, to definitely use your voice for them. And again, not like harshly, performatively, but just clearly with intention and purpose.
Mm. I'm still back in the bikini moment.
I know it was so terrible.
I wanted to see him. I wanted to ask him if I were. I'm like, I wonder what he would look like. Do I get to see him in his bikini?
Yeah. You have a Speedo lined up over there, buddy. Like all the wish I would have, could have,
Anyway.
100%. Yeah. Use it.
Oh, that's beautiful though. I like that the pivot to bringing it back to without making that person wrong and but still making a point with it being an opportunity to see what they just did. We all step in it and get it wrong sometimes.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so much of the casual throwaway comments um, are exactly that. They happen without a lot of thought. And then when you give a chance for someone to think through it, I think that's really powerful. That's a
Yeah.
gift
Yeah.
to connect it that way. So I want to talk about ARA, which has this mission of attracting, retaining, and advancing women in technology. From where you sit and your experience, of course, and your years leading your company, what are some other real reasons you feel like women are still so underrepresented at the executive board level?
Oh, Amy, there are so many reasons.
Yeah.
So
Well,
many
tell
reasons.
me, what do you think some
Um,
of them are? Like the
One,
top
there's a
1 or 2
great
maybe?
book I'm gonna just reference real quickly called How Women Rise, and
Mhm.
not to be confused with Together We Rise, but How Women Rise. And there's several traits that they outline in it that define what hold women back. So I would highly encourage reading it
Mhm.
because it's a phenomenal book, and a lot of it is very true. And one of the main reasons is, one, we feel like we need to check all of the boxes and then some when
Mm.
applying. And I know that sounds you've this may not be new to anyone listening to this. However, it is still true to this day. And I'll give you examples of friends of mine who are CEOs. They could be interviewing for new positions, and they'll do things like, so pay equity, I see quite often. They'll do things like, um, I want flexibility in my job. And there are days when I need to go get my kids. So I'm going to be okay taking less of a salary.
Mm.
Whereas their male counterpart, that wouldn't even come out. They will just take the flexibility and do what they need to do without asking for permission. But we feel like we actually need to ask for permission to do different things. And, or we're not fully qualified, therefore we'll wait. So I would encourage women to not kind of take less because you think you're giving less. You're actually giving of your experience. And what I know of women to be true is we're all really hard workers for the most part. I would say there's some, maybe who aren't, but if you're at a CEO position, you've probably worked hard to get there. And that means if you're going to make up time for going out and doing whatever, you're going to do that. But you're also sending a lesson to the other people on your teams. You're giving them silent permission to do that for themselves too. So we need to be able to show our teams and our staff that it's okay to take kids to doctor's appointments. It's great to go to a play. Or what I'll do often is it could be midday and I'm going to go for a bike or a hike or do something for myself, for my own health and mental health, needs. I need to get out into nature and do those things. And, we innately will show permission for that. I also believe firmly that there are still structural barriers holding women back. And what I mean by that is, we have a lot of mentors, but we don't often have sponsors. So a mentor is someone who's going to help advise you, but a sponsor is going to open that door for you.
Yeah.
And if there aren't more women or men who are sponsors in the room who will say your name when you're not in it, it could be for a speaking opportunity. Casey J. Cox introduced me to you. I'm in
Yes.
this room because he sponsored me to your podcast. And I don't mean paid for me to be on your podcast. He sponsored me by saying my name when I wasn't in the room.
Mhm.
And if you think of board positions, speaking opportunities, promotions, a lot of times that happens when you're not in the room that's taking place in. So you want to make sure you have sponsors who are speaking on your behalf. And a lot of times it's men in those rooms, just based on the numbers. So how do we flip that so we get more of those sponsorships and opportunities? And the other thing is I've seen too many of my friends get passed up for CEO positions, many. They believe they're the successor. They've been told they're the successor by their CEO, that they are next in line. And when it comes time for them to be next in line, they really weren't. And the board didn't know they were next in line. Investors didn't know they were next in line. They were told that in silence between the two of them. Yes, you
Mm.
are my person. But they weren't really truly sponsored in. So it's like the using your voice we talked about earlier, making it clear. If you want to be on boards, tell people you want to be on boards. Put it on your LinkedIn profile. If I talk to a tech company and I'm talking to them about something, I'll say, hey, if you get an open board position, I'd love to be considered for that. So keep betting on yourself, use your voice, don't wait to check all the boxes, and find sponsors who will help you when you're not in the room. That is, I think, one of the most critical things and why we need men to help women make a difference because they're most likely going to be in the room to help us.
Mm. That is amazing. Okay. We're gonna start to bring this home a little bit, Leslie. I mean, you gave so much gold there. Um, and it's what I see all the time too, candidly. It really is. The taking less, the doing more than's required, and still accepting less.
And just like role play with someone to talk through things. We have a recruiting division and we place marketers. The men in positions, let's say I reached out to a male for a role, the first thing they ask is compensation. They won't even say they're interested in it until they know the comp.
Yep.
This is 99.9% of the time. The women barely negotiate. They don't even want to talk about compensation because it's uncomfortable. So role play, have that conversation, understand what it takes, and know your worth because you are enough and you should get what your value is. But that still astonishes me. There's reasons why we still have pay equity and issues with this.
Yeah. Pay inequity. Not pay equity yet. Working on it.
Yeah,
Working
pay
on
and
it.
equity. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. You became a mom at 42, you said. You're while you were running a company of 55 plus people,
Mhm.
you've been really candid that the flexible work model you built for everyone else finally had to work for you. What did this season, your son he just had a big birthday, I think,
Yeah,
right?
10. He just turned
Yeah.
10.
Yeah. So 10
Yeah,
years, what did that decade teach you about what it means to lead yourself and not just your team
yeah,
in finding that balance and flexibility to be a CEO and be a mom and do all that?
yeah. It's, well, one, it's not easy. It's not meant to be easy.
Nothing
Nothing in
is.
life that comes right. What
No.
is the cliche is meant to be easy. But, for me, when I found out I was pregnant, my team did a fantastic job of stepping up and saying, "We want to help you," and encouraging me to take the time off. But it opened my eyes to realizing that in order for them to grow, I needed to let them grow and to let go of doing certain things. So
Mm.
by me becoming a mom and in exchange and return, it actually opened the door and created more opportunities for people on our team because I realized that I was kind of holding them back by not letting go of doing certain things that I didn't need to be as in the business, working on. I needed to work on the business, but not in the business. But while I was in it, I couldn't give them that opportunity. So they actually, a couple of them came to me and used their voices to say, "This is your time. You've gifted us this time with our families. We want to gift this back to you so you can have this time, with your son." I didn't know what I was having at the time with your baby. And the other thing was I got help early. We were in a fortunate position to have a nanny come to the house and I had her start right away. And I did it intentionally because I was doing CrossFit the day before I went in to get checked out to understand that I was basically in labor. I was doing CrossFit in labor. I'm hyper competitive when it comes to taking care of myself, as you know, with hockey now at 50. That
Mhm.
health side of it is so important to me. And I saw so many other women struggle with not asking for help and not getting help and needing to create this community that I had to surround myself with help and support and be okay with that. So knowing that I don't need to do it all. So if you think about, moving to Colorado, starting my company, courage came before that plan and having the courage to do those things, to ask for help and to say, I'm okay not being perfect at this. And I'm far from perfect. And, it's still to this day, even traveling. My son, I heard him the other day talking to his stuffed animals, asking them why mommy always has to travel and why she can't be here with him. It pulls at the mommy heartstrings,
Mhm.
every single day. And, taking the time to kind of lean into that. And he teaches me as much as I could, probably more than I teach him. I learned so much from him. And for me, it's sharing the stories, opening up with my team, letting them know what's happening in my life, letting them know when, he is sick or maybe I'm exhausted that day. I can't stop yawning. I'm so sorry. Like I'm yawning all day. Whatever it is, I'm going to be that real leader to share that with them because again, it silently in a way gives them permission to do the same. And I don't want them to go through the struggles that, I know my mom had to go through or the women before us as you were talking about earlier. I don't want them to have to do that. So for me, having him later, I think it afforded me the opportunity to see things, I think, in a different way and know that I had built something different for everyone else. Now it was time for me to take advantage of that. And if I changed that, what would that tell my team? So I needed to lean into what I was hoping they would do and go even far, far and above that. beyond that for myself too.
Oh, that's beautiful. Leslie, this conversation has really been everything I hoped for and more. Thank you so much for your honesty, your heart, and for being the kind of leader who makes other women feel like they belong in the room. They belong founding their own company or in the CEO seat or on the board or wherever they want to go.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you so
Thank you.
much for
I
that.
appreciate that. Well,
Yeah,
thank you for creating the platform, and I mentioned this to you when we first met. You do such a beautiful job interviewing and coming up with questions and making your guests feel comfortable. That shines through your podcast too.
thank you so much for that kind compliment. I'm so grateful. So for those of you who are listening to this conversation, if this episode hit home for you, and I believe it probably did, please give this gift. Send this episode. This is podcast is produced by me, and the way that I gain so much listenership is through you all generously sharing with the people that you know. And you can forward this episode if you want to take advantage of the opportunity to connect with me in a one-on-one format where we talk about your career. Come find me at amyevanscoaching.com. I give you that session that I give away for my listeners, and you can find it at Work With Me. Leslie's books will be linked in the show notes so you can find her. And if someone wants to connect with you, Leslie, what's the best way for them to find you?
LinkedIn is always the best way. So feel free to connect with me there, Leslie Vickrey on LinkedIn, and I'd love to connect and keep the conversation going.
Beautiful. Well, until next time, we'll keep leading with authority, with courage. We're going to put that DJ in a box. And I'll see you in the next episode, everyone.